Well, hi guys, it's that time. It's our Bible teaching snippet of the day. Well, today we're going to hop in and do part 7 of our mini-series called Original Sin, and this is where we're asking the question, are all humans born with a sin nature, okay? Are we born as sinners? And I do not believe that we are born sinners, because actually when you read the Bible with an open mind and not go into it with some already set doctrine that we were taught, there are no scriptures that prove that, and certainly Jesus never said that, okay? In fact, he went really the opposite direction, talking about how the little children would inherit the kingdom, okay? So I've already covered all that in other sections of this series. Today I'm going to do my very best to start talking about and covering the history of the doctrine of sin nature, or the original sin, meaning that people are born with a sin nature, because St. Augustine and some of the other guys in the Roman Catholic Church believed that through sexual intimacy, okay, that was a sin, and that anything that came out of that union was automatically sin, which means all newborn babies are born as sinners, okay? But today what I want to do, before I go any further, okay, because I have all this set out to talk to you about, but the Lord has just been telling me, stop, don't go to the next part yet, Faith. What I want you to do is go a little deeper on Romans chapter 7, verse 18 and verse 25, and just digress a little bit on that and talk about what you've learned about that. So I'm going to do that part today, okay? Now, yesterday I covered Romans 17, chapter 7, verse 18 and verse 25. And I told you about how the NIV used the words sinful nature. That is not translated sinful nature in any other translation that I've looked at. And yes, I have looked at 75, 65, about 130 or 40 different versions of it. In the actual Greek word or in the Aramaic manuscripts, it's always the word flesh. Now here I need to stop and tell you that there are two different words for flesh. It's like the flesh of animals, and that sometimes is translated as meat, okay? That's a completely different Greek word, but the word flesh that we're talking about right here is the word sarx, and it basically means skin. Sarx, skin, okay? So if you look it up in the different concordances, it talks about this word flesh here in Romans chapter 7. That particular word flesh, sarx, also means our physical body. It's just the physical body, the human body, okay? Now, I want to make sure I say this, okay? This is where I want to go next with this part of what I've studied about this. And guys, I want to make sure I stop and say this, because a lot of people think that I think I know it. I do not know everything, okay? I do study deeply, and I do pray, and I ask the Spirit of God to teach me, okay? And so He does. The Lord teaches me, and He communes with me. I abide with Him, and there's such great fruit with that. I want to talk to you a little bit about this flesh thing that Paul talks about, okay? When we read these verses, the word flesh here, for what I understand, means our mind, our stinking thinking, our junk in the trunk, the things that we learned in the world from other people. It's kind of like our program system that works up here in our brain. It's our minds, our thoughts, our emotions, all of that stuff. Okay, but the spirit, okay, our spirit is connected to our heart, okay? So our flesh is connected to our brain and our stinking thinking, our operating system, and you know what we kind of get on autopilot to do when we're offended or made mad. But God said in the Old Testament, and this is a future prophecy, please remember this, a future prophecy was that God would write His laws on our hearts. He's not writing them in a bunch of scriptures. He's not telling us to follow 613 Torah laws. And are the 10 Commandments good to follow? Yes, but you don't even have to memorize those. He's going to write his laws of love on our heart. We love God, and when we start becoming like God, because God is love, we're going to start walking in love. Okay? So see, our heart is connected to God's Spirit. So God writes his laws of love on our heart, and when we start walking in the Spirit, okay, we will renew our minds. We will renew our computer programming, our stinking thinking, our junk in our trunk. And Paul talks about renewing our minds. So we get the laws of God, his laws of love written on our heart. We walk in the Spirit, okay, and then we have the fruit of the Spirit, okay, which is a singular one of love, and then we have all this abundant fruit from that root of love, okay. So our spirit man starts driving us, overpowering our stinking thinking, our flesh. Okay. So with that said, what I want to do today is I'm going to go back and read Romans chapter 7, verse 18 and verse 25. And I want you to think about this, what I just explained to you. My mind will lead my flesh to do self-centered, non-loving things, regardless of who I hurt, whether it's the heart of God that I'm hurting, whether I'm kind of making the Spirit of God going, oh no, I created you for so much more, okay? Or if it's hurting other people, hurting animals, living in violence, anger, all of these things, that's the flesh-driven part of our fallen thinking. If we start letting our heart be renewed and renew our mind and walk in the Spirit, then we will start walking and acting and talking and being more like Jesus was. Now, let me read this to you, and you keep this in mind as I read. Here we go. For I know that nothing good lives within the flesh of my humanity. The longings to do what is right are within me. Where do you think it's within him? It's written on his heart, okay? The longings to do what is right is within me, but willpower is not enough to accomplish it. Think about that. Okay. Now let's go on over, and I'm going to read to you verse 25. I give all my thanks to God, for his mighty power has finally provided a way out through our Lord Jesus, the Anointed One. So if left to myself, the flesh is aligned with the law of sin. But now my renewed mind is fixed on and submitted to God's righteous principles. Now think about righteous only means to live right, the right way to live. That's all that means, living the right way. And how's God going to teach us how to live the right way? He's going to write his laws of love on our heart, and then we're going to come into alignment with the way that God thinks toward everything. God is love. So we're going to walk in love, and we're going to walk in the Spirit in union with Christ, okay? And then we will start being able to not just renew our mind, we'll totally rewrite that stinking thinking program. We'll override it with the laws of love. Did that make sense for you today? Well, listen, I'm not going to move into the history of the doctrine of sin nature or babies being born with a sin nature, okay? I am going to pick up on that tomorrow, and I've got some really great stuff I want to share with you about that. But I'm already at 9 minutes, and I'm going to just call it good for today, and then I will pick up and do part 8 and talk to you a little bit about the history of that. I call it a doo-doo doctrine to tell us that these beautiful babies that are born into the earth are little demons that have to be saved or they all go to hell. Anyway, I love you, and I will see you here tomorrow. Bye-bye.